You
You're
on? We
awesome.
on? Yeah. Yeah. So equanimity, right? One more week, another week of equanimity. And yeah, yeah. I don't get into etymology that often. I do a little bit once in a while. I'll hear a word and what's the root of that? Where does that come from? Yeah. We think the English word is the end all and be all. No, there's usually combinations that come from other cultures, earlier on Latin or whatever. But I decided to just check out what equanimity comes from the Latin. It's a combination of two words, aequus and animus. Yeah, and aequus means even, and animus means soul or being. So it means even soul or even being, which is kind of cool. I really like that. Yeah, I think of the even soul as an evenness with respect to what's going on internally, in terms of our relationship with our own experience, and even being an evenness in the world in response to what's going on around us and all the stimuli that's coming out, moving toward that sense of evenness, that kind of evenness. But in the Pali, there are two words that capture what this means in Buddhism in particular. One is upekkha, right, which captures a sense of watching as if a spectator, watching over, but more like a spectator, what's going on. Yeah, more like a spectator. Yeah. But then there's this other wonderful, long-winded word called tetra majatata, tetramajatata, which means in the middle of, in the middle of. So it's not, and I find this really interesting because it's what it's trying to capture is it's not this and it's not that. It's not too much, because the near enemy of equanimity is too much distance, too much aloofness, too much detachment, too much almost indifference, almost apathy. Oh, yeah, I'm noticing. We'll often talk about just labeling something, just labeling, but not getting involved in at all with it. And that's too far. That's not what equanimity is. And we can slip into that space of just noticing, but it's almost a defensive, not getting involved at all. It's not that. It's in the middle of. It's in the middle of. So that it's basically being willing to be very near to it. And there's a contact there. There's contact with what's going on, with more and more of what's going on, but not getting overly involved in it, embroiled in it. That's the thing. So it's not getting, it's like that thing in the Goldilocks and the Three Bears, not too hot and not too cool. It's not too removed, but it's not too invested. Yeah. And so it's non-reactive, but connected, but staying connected with more and more of what's going on, with more and more of what's going on. And being and as that develops, um, it's getting a little bit more. Well, it develops, so that more and more we're reacting less and less, a little bit at a time, just reacting a little bit less in both of these spaces, gradually. I'd like to think of, again, more like equanimous moments of experience than equanimity, like a state we're going to hang out in, because it's going to be a long time before we're going to be getting anywhere close to hanging out in that state. We have to recognize that. This is one of those cultivations, and it's considered to be a fairly subtle cultivation, and it takes quite a while. Now, we can talk about finding balance in the midst of our internal experience and in the midst of life, but yeah, in some moments we can get there, and in some moments that can show up, but not all moments, not all moments. But the path of practice is generally, gradually, to move in that direction, right? We hear that in all the research with mindfulness. And one of the things that happens is a less reactivity to things that we used to be super reactive to, right? Gradually, a little bit less reactive, a little bit less reactive. Sometimes that goes too far in the other direction. And it's almost like I'm not connected with it at all. I don't want to connect with it at all. And there's a reminder, it's not that either. It's somewhere in the middle, staying connected, but not overly invested, not overly, not overly uninvested, divested, not invested, disconnected from it. It's not that. It's in the middle. It's in the middle, and it's very gradually starting to just orient in that way. Yeah. So it's reacting less, but it's welcoming more, welcoming more. Because there's still a lot as we move through our day, a lot of subtle preferences, even if it's not dramatic. I want more of this, I want less of that. I want more of this, I want less of that. Yeah. And with equanimity, it's opening, it's softening around those preferences. It's making room. It's making room for more and more in a balanced way, in a balanced way. So that there's care and presence. There's care and presence. And there's caring without trying to control. Yeah. It's a sense of just a really a welcoming, more welcoming. Yeah. Gradually, less reactivity. Yeah. More welcoming, less reactivity. Which is why I like as a one of the they're kind of like mantras. And, for me, they're kind of like these mantras that remind me of that perspective, that equanimity perspective. One of them is that you've heard us say this, as if everything that's arising in your experience has a right to be there. As if it has a right to be there just the way it is. No, it doesn't mean we hold on to it. It doesn't mean we push it away either. It has a right to arise. It's there. It's arisen. It's announcing itself in the field of experience. It's saying that whatever it is, more and more, oh yeah, that's arising. That's cool. I can be equanimous with that, but that's arising. That thought, I got to get rid of that. Right? And it's noticing, when do those reactions happen? When do those judgments happen? When do those preferences become a push away or holding on to? So equanimity is in between, right? It's in the middle of, on the one hand, greed or grabbing onto something, really holding on, and pushing something away out of the field of experience. Don't want that. That's not me. I don't like that. Yeah? It's somewhere in the middle. It's not turning away from it. It's arisen. It has a right to be there. You heard me say, as if there were just one ecosystem. Same thing. It has a right to be there. And part of equanimity is seeing how when we don't, we're not yet there, where everything has a right to be there. We have pushes and pulls in us. We have lots of pushes and pulls and preferences, right? In us. Yeah, of course we do. Of course we do. And some of them are pretty deeply ingrained, pretty deeply soft wired, but they're pretty deep in there. And gradually we get to take a look at them. Where are we holding on? Where are we pushing away? Equanimity is somewhere there in the middle of our experience. And so when the stronger reactions happen, what do? We soften around them. Softening. You heard us say that, softening. Yeah. Yeah. So, we're moving in this direction. In general, we're moving in this direction with more care and more presence to more of what's going on. That's the direction. We're not going to get there because there's no getting there. We let go of goals with this direction. more care and more presence, more care and more presence to a wider and wider range of our experience. Yeah, yeah. You know, you can forget this. The peace of mind that the Buddha talked about is not some of the stuff that I don't like someday will never arise anymore. That's not the teaching. That's not the path. The path is the things that used to arise that drove me crazy, that I really didn't like, that I really don't like. Now, when it arises, I can make room for it a little bit more than I used to be able to make room for it. Yeah, I can make room for it a little bit more. I'm not buying into it. I'm not grabbing into it. I'm not averse to it. That thought that I have about how I'm unworthy, that I've been carrying around for my whole life. Now, when it arises, I go, oh, wow. That's been holding me hostage my whole life. It's been affecting my quality of life. I, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. I'm not believing it like I used to believe it. So equanimity is no small thing. Not reacting to some of the things that we've been reacting to is a lot of where dukkha gets created in our experience. Yeah. And learning to be more at peace with it, more even with it, more able to soften around it, more willing to welcome it, more of these bits, really is part of the wellness path, part of the path toward happiness. Hmm? Yeah. So again, it's not about getting rid of stuff. You know, we say this many, many times, but our tendency is still to want to get rid of stuff. It's we're wired to want to get rid of stuff. You know, Buddha said that doesn't work. That was one of his great discoveries. Yeah, we need to find a more balanced relationship in the middle of it, in the middle of our lives. Yeah, yeah, that's equanimity. That's why it's considered a high and very important teaching. Yeah, yeah, and a subtle one. It takes a while, but we can have equanimous moments. And it's important to know, to recognize them, to appreciate them when they arise. Oh, that's an equanimous moment. I'm there, I'm connected, but I'm not grabbing and I'm not pushing. It's like, oh, there's care, there's connection, there's presence, not reaction. Yeah? Hmm. Yeah. So thank you for your kind attention as usual. Let's open up and practice a little bit, okay? Oh. And when you're ready, slowing it down and lightly closing the eyes. Appreciating for a moment that you're sitting with the Sangha. So many of you, so many of us here supporting each other in our practice. And the intention there, forming that intention to soften, to find a comfortable breathing pattern, comfortable breath. Creating a little space and a little ease. And if you will, with an attitude that whatever is showing up in your experience has a right to be there. That kind of evenness of welcoming. An evenness of welcoming. Softening and welcoming. Last few minutes of the meditation, settling back. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for joining us.